Thank you for joining us for Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire. Let's turn the page together. Alright, this is one I'm almost certain you haven't heard of. So, without further ado, the 3 snake leaves. There was once on a time a poor man who could no longer support his only son. Then said the son, "Dear father, things go so badly with us that I am a burden to you. I would rather go away and see how I can earn my bread." So the father gave him his blessing, and with great sorrow they parted. At this time the king of a mighty empire was at war, and the youth entered into his service, and with him went out to fight. And when he came before the enemy, there was a battle and great danger, and it rained shot until his comrades fell on all sides. And when the leader also was killed, those left were about to take flight. But the youth stepped forth, spoke boldly to them, and cried, "We will not let our fatherland be ruined." Then the others followed him, and he pressed on and conquered the enemy. When the king heard that he owed the victory to him alone, he raised him above all the others, gave him great treasures, and made him the first in the kingdom. The king had a daughter who was very beautiful, but she was also very strange. She had made a vow to take no one as her lord and husband, who did not promise to let himself be buried alive with her if she died first. "If he loves me with all his heart," said she, "of what use will life be to him afterwards?" On her side, she would do the same, and if he died first, would go down to the grave with him. This strange oath had up to this time frightened away all wooers, but the youth became so charmed with her beauty that he cared for nothing and asked her father for her. "But do you know what you must promise?" said the king. "I must be buried with her," he replied, "if I outlive her, but my love is so great that I do not mind the danger." Then the king consented, and the wedding was solemnized with great splendor. They lived now for a while happy and contented with each other, and then it befell that the young queen was attacked by a severe illness, and no physician could save her. And as she lay there dead, the young king remembered that he had been obliged to promise, and was horrified at having to lie down alive in the grave, but there was no escape. The king had placed sentries at all gates, and it was not possible to avoid his fate. When the day came when the corpse was to be buried, he was taken down into the royal vault with it, and when the door was shut and bolted. Near the coffin stood a table on which were 4 candles, 4 loaves of bread, and 4 bottles of wine, and when this provision came to an end, he would have to die of hunger. Now he sat there, full of pain and grief, ate every day only a little piece of bread, drank only a mouthful of wine, and nevertheless saw death daily drawing nearer. While he thus gazed before him, he saw a snake creep out of the corner of the vault and approach the dead body, and as he thought it came to gnaw at it, he drew his sword and said, "As long as I live, you shall not touch her," and hewed the snake in 3 pieces. After a time, a second snake crept out of the hole, and when it saw the other lying dead and cut in pieces, it went back, but soon came again and saw with 3 green leaves in its mouth. When it took the 3 pieces of the snake, laid them together as they ought to go, and placed one of the leaves on each wound. Immediately the severed parts joined themselves together, the snake moved and became alive again, and both of them hastened away together. The leaves were left lying on the ground, and a desire came into the mind of the unhappy man who had been watching all this, to know if the wondrous power of the leaves which had brought the snake to life again, could not likewise be of a service to a human being. So he picked up the leaves, laid one of them on the mouth of his dead wife, and the other 2 on her eyes. And hardly had he done this, than the blood stirred in her veins, rose into her pale face, and colored it again. Then she drew breath, opened her eyes, and said, "Where am I?" "You are with me, dear wife," he answered, and told her how everything had happened, and how he had brought her back to life again. Then he gave her some wine and bread, and when she had regained her strength, he raised her up, and they went to the door and knocked, and called so loudly that the sentries heard it, and told the king. The king came down himself and opened the door, and when he found both strong and well, and rejoiced with them, that now all sorrow was over. The young king, however, took the 3 snake leaves with him, gave them to a servant, and said, "Keep them for me carefully, and carry them constantly with you. Who knows in what trouble they may yet be of service to us?" A change had, however, taken the place in his wife, whom she had been restored to life. It seemed as if all love for her husband had gone out of her heart. After some time, when he wanted to make a voyage over the sea to visit his old father, and they had gone on board a ship, she forgot the great love and fidelity which he had shown her, and which had been the means of rescuing her from death, and conceived a wicked inclination for the skipper. And once, when the young king lay there asleep, she called in the skipper, and seized the sleeper by the head, and the skipper took him by the feet, and thus they threw him down into the sea. When the shameful deed was done, she said, "Now let us return home and say that he died on the way. I will extol and praise you so to my father that he will marry me to you, and make you the heir to his crown." But the faithful servant who had seen all that they did, unseen by them, unfastened a little boat from the ship, got into it, sailed after his master, and let the traders go on their way. He fished up the dead body, and by the help of the 3 snake leaves, which he carried about with him, and laid on the eyes and mouth, he fortunately brought the young king back to life. They both rowed with all their their strength day and night, and their little boat flew so swiftly that they reached the old king before the others did. He was astonished when he saw them come alone, and asked what had happened to them. When he learned the wickedness of his daughter, he said, "I cannot believe that she has behaved so ill." But the truth will soon come to light, and bade both to go into a secret chamber and keep themselves hidden from everyone. Soon afterwards, the great ship came sailing in, and the woman appeared before her father with a troubled countenance. He said, "Why do you come back alone? Where is your husband?" "Ah, dear father," she replied, "I come home again in great grief. During the voyage, my husband became suddenly ill and died, and if the good skipper had not given me his help, it would have gone badly for me. He was present at his death and can tell you all." The king said, "I will make the dead alive again," opened the chamber, and bade the 2 come out. When the woman saw her husband, she was thunderstruck and fell on her knees and begged for mercy. The king said, "There is no mercy. He was ready to die with you and restored you to life again, but you have murdered him in his sleep and shall receive the reward that you deserve." Then she was placed with her accomplice in a ship which had been pierced with holes, and sent out to sea, where they soon sank amid the waves. So, firstly, props to the guy. He's like, "Father, I'm a burden, I'll leave you, and we'll see how it goes." And then, immediately becomes king. So, he does a lot of hard work first, so there's that. Spooky snakes, that's fun. And I love how he's like, "Okay, man, keep these. This is a good idea." Also, it says the faithful servant, doesn't give him a name, and part of me just kind of wonders, is it Faithful John? Is it our good buddy, creepy buddy, Faithful John? Is this his backstory? I don't know. So, the snake leaves made the wife all weird after she was alive again. I don't know. So, is the same thing gonna happen to the young king? Or was this change something that entirely happened just on its own? Because the king seems fine. It doesn't tell us that he received the same issue. So I'm really wondering if that change was just, she was, I don't know, because some people will not change their love under pressure, and other people, when the slightest pressure is on, will change their love or friendship. So, my message is just to, I guess, know what you're getting into. If you're starting to get really close with a friend and then you see some they make you go and you're like, "I don't know, this is kind of weird, I don't necessarily appreciate or like this." Or, especially if you're gonna get married to this person for who knows how long. Well, okay, let's first talk about, he was like, "I'll be buried alive with you," and then actually did it. Props to him keeping his promises. However, that's not necessary, in my opinion, for every marriage. or friendship. Again, just go back to Faithful John. Faithful servants, boundaries. But especially if you're going to get married to the person, know what you're getting into. Spend some time getting to know them. Like, really get to know them. Like, see what they're like under pressure. Go take an escape room or file taxes together. I don't know. Do something that shows you what they're like. Like, are they angry under the pressure? Are they sad under pressure? Like, I can't do it, defeated? Or are they like this cool being? Like, yeah, I got this. Like, get to know people you're gonna spend extended amounts of time with, like, if you're at all able to. But I do think, let's circle back to the whole being buried alive together thing. Keep your promises. Like, if you're like, hey fam, I'll be there for you, and then you're not there, like, okay. Obviously, again, boundaries, like I talked about, like, if you've had, like, this terribly rough day, and then all of a sudden, like, someone's like, hey man, I need you to help me with this big heavy problem. Tell them, okay, like, still try and fulfill your, like, promise, or at least, like, let them know, be like, man, I really can't today, how about tomorrow? In the meantime, here's this website that, like, has coping skills. I don't know. I really don't know. But whenever you're able to, try and fulfill your promises while still maintaining healthy boundaries. And this has been Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. Thank you for joining us for this happily ever after, or not so happily ever after. That's up to you. Either way, this is the end for this episode. So tune in later and to learn more, and we can turn a new page together.